Howdy, I'm Dr. Bosh B. Jordan Jr., the pastor and founder of Hope Alive Outreach, and we're here today to bring a message of hope to those who suffer from the disease of addiction, whether or not you are an addict or an alcoholic yourself or no one. Maybe you have someone that's in your family, maybe someone that you're dating, maybe someone, maybe a neighbor, a friend. But no matter who it is, our whole mission and purpose is to give hope to those persons who suffer from the disease of addiction. So tell your friends, your neighbors, tell them that the Hope Doctor is on the air right now. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on our website, hopealiveoutreach.org. So you might be able to listen to us on any one of those platforms. We are here every first Wednesday of the month to bring a message of hope, and it's from 6 to 7 p.m. You may ask questions, make comments, and my producer will share them with us and share with our guests tonight. We are really blessed tonight to have some guests from all over the country tonight, and I'm happy about that, and I'm looking forward to a great time tonight. So, but if you'd like to send me a message, maybe you want to get into detox, you want to get into treatment, I am an ordained minister, so I can even do marriage counseling and do weddings. You can email me at info@hopealiveoutreach.org. That's info@hopealiveoutreach.org. Or you can call me direct at 443-250-9635. That's 443-250-9635. Or you can write to me to the Hope Doctor, Post Office Box 35427. That's Post Office Box 35427, St. Petersburg, Florida 33705. It does cost something for us to broadcast. And if you'd like to make a donation to our outreach, you can do it by one of the five means that's on your screen right now, Cash App or PayPal, Givelify, or our website, or you can just send a check to Hope Alive Outreach. And this helps us to spread the message of hope. And don't forget, you can call me up until 11 o'clock at night. No matter where you are in the country, no matter where you are in the world, you can give me a call. And it's my purpose to give you some hope. Okay, we're going to introduce our guest tonight. And they will come on as first of all, our co-host is Clay, Brother Clay. And Clay is here in St. Petersburg, Florida. And we have a good composition of individuals here tonight. We have Angie. Angie is from Baltimore, and also Woodlawn. That's right, Woodlawn. She flew in from Woodlawn. That's right.
That's Woodlawn.
That's right. And Leonidas is here tonight. And Leonidas is he flew in from Maryland, and we also have Lisa. Lisa is here tonight. She's from Detroit. So I think that from Detroit. And Dave, I don't know what happened to David. David was outside there. I hope that he can get his Wi-Fi to come back. I don't know what happened, but hopefully he'll be back with us. What we like to do first of all is we like for you to introduce yourself. Tell a little bit about how you got where you are today. What fellowship that you belong to, if you like, and how long you've been in recovery. And let's just start with our co-host, Brother Clay.
Hello, my name is Clay. I was introduced to the program of Narcotics Anonymous through the prison system. Unfortunately, I was incarcerated in several states, Massachusetts, New York, Texas, 4 times in Maryland, and twice down here in Florida.
Just a couple times.
Just a couple of times. And I was introduced to the program of Narcotics Anonymous. Just recently, I celebrated 18 years.
Wonderful.
Yay.
Yeah, and I was there.
You was there?
I was at your anniversary, brother.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Angie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Angie. I usually say, I'm Angie, and I'm a recovering addict. Not in a meeting right now, but that's what I say let you know that I'm still recovering. I got clean 31 years ago on March the 9th. And I went into a detox in Baltimore City.
Wow.
I did most of my using in Baltimore City and Baltimore County. Uh, I went into a hospital detox for 3 to 4 days, and I never looked back. Through God's grace and mercy, I am still, you know, clean today. And that's about it right now. That's my introduction.
All right, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I'm glad that David flew back. I don't know what happened to his plane. Maybe they were having, what do they call it, turbulence on the Wi-Fi. But so David, just tell a little bit about yourself, how you happen to get into recovery. Just a little bit.
Yeah, my name is David R. You can see on the screen, his last name is Robinson. And basically, I came into recovery in 1985. And I came here because I was really suffering from major depression and just doing a lot of insane stuff. Living the wrong way. Was in a lot. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was grieving and from a very traumatic event that had happened maybe 7 years earlier from a murder of my friend. And I found myself, having numerous visits, going to Sinai Hospital, and eventually I ended up on the psych ward out in Howard County. And that's when the recovery process started for me, and I've been clean ever since. The work that I'm doing, I've been retired for the last 11 years. I used to work in addictions at Bayview Medical, and and on the in addictions program at methadone. Actually, we did treated patients who had who had major problems in the psychiatric problems along with that addiction. And that's where that's a little bit about my background. That's enough for me right now. Thank you.
Okay, Reverend Leonidas, tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
I'm Leonidas. I'm a recovering addict. I'm an advocate person for right now. I'm doing a lot of things with marriages and marriage ministries and stuff with my church and other churches. I'm an advocate, motivator through my writings. I do a lot of writing, and I sit on a lot of text to a lot of people. I came to the process, I believe, because this thing, I was a drug dealer. Been to prison several times, been shot, stabbed, background, criminal record, but through this process, I became very much an entrepreneur. I turned all my skills into owning several businesses since I've been here in Baltimore City, Baltimore County. I'm just one of those kind of believers and people that believe that if you put your mind to it, God will put his steps to it. So if you learn and work the steps and the principles what God has, you can go pretty far if you just stay clean. That's what I got for you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. While you were speaking, Leonidas, and this topic that we have, tonight, the church in 12-step. All of us cannot tell all about our stories tonight. But I honestly and truly believe that God ordained this moment, for this to happen. No matter where we've been, no matter what experiences that we've had, no matter what drug or alcohol we used, all of us are drug and alcohol free tonight, and we have some gifts and graces, and we have some good information that we're going to share with the public tonight. And I just wanted to say that. Come on, Lisa.
Good evening, everybody. I am a recovering addict. My name is Lisa, and I came into a program in 1997, January 27th. So I have 24 years clean, and just it was just something different. I was tired, you know. I was tired, and I got sick and tired of myself, and so I gave that cry out to God that to help me, you know. And I get involved in service, and I stay involved in service. I make a lot of meetings, and I just I live by spiritual principles today. So
Great.
that's all I got.
Okay. That's all you got for right now. We're
For
gonna bring
now,
some more,
yeah.
We're gonna bring some more out of it. I mean, we're not gonna let you fly here all the way to Detroit. That's all you gonna no, we go. All right. There's a book that I utilize on a regular basis. It's called Serenity.
Yeah.
Serenity, a companion for 12-step recovery. And since our topic tonight is Clay, would you tell them what you do, please?
What I do professionally?
Yes.
Oh, I'm a licensed mental health clinician, registered intern, master's level certified addiction professional, and I work for Mobile Crisis Response here in Pinellas County. Our target population is 5 to 25-year-olds, people with suicidal ideations, ideations of harm, co-occurring component going on with them with substance abuse and mental health. I advocate for quite a few people and participate in recovery.
Okay. Thank you so much. Something else that God is revealing just to me right now. A long time ago, I found out that addicts and alcoholics have some of the highest IQs and are some of the most intelligent people in the world. And we have a couple of people who are listening, and hello. I want to say hello to Angela and all of you all, the rest of you all who are listening. If you have some questions, you can write them as we get into our discussion about the church and 12-step program. I want to read something about the history of 12-step from this book entitled Serenity. And in this book, each chapter and each verse in this book corresponds to a step in the 12-step process. 12-step programs were born in the mid-1930s with the establishment of the first program, Alcoholics Anonymous. Alcoholics Anonymous was adapted from a Christian revival organization referred to as the Oxford Group. All of the movements of the church, beginning with Peter and Paul and the other apostles, had as their goal a spiritual awakening or renewal. This was true through the various monastic movements, the Protestant Reformation, and the Oxford movement of the early 1800s. It is true also of the Oxford Group, originally called a First Century Christian Fellowship, an evangelistic movement in the 1900s, out of which the 12 Steps grew. Both the Oxford Group and the 12 Steps have at their hearts the desire to take a healing message to people caught in unwholesome lifestyles. Dr. Frank Buckman, a Lutheran minister of Pennsylvania, Dutch stock, was the founder of the Oxford Group. If any of y'all don't know that, I'm an ordained minister, been a pastor for 44 years, but I also used drugs for 30 years of my life, drugs and alcohol. And just recently, as of October the 13th, I celebrated 33 years on the other side. In other words, 33 years in recovery. The first thing I would like to throw out, and that is, how has the church influenced your life, and how has 12-step influenced your life? You can deal with it interchangeably, You can deal with it individually. However the Spirit moves you. How has 12-step recovery influenced your life? How has the church influenced your life? I'm gonna call on Lisa first, and the reason why I'm gonna call on Lisa first is because when I heard Lisa share about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, she said something about the church in a meeting that stimulated enough for us to have this forum tonight. Lisa, how has the church, how has 12-step influenced your life?
Well, for me, the 12 steps has influenced my life. I don't go to church. I believe in God. You know, I believe in spirit. I don't believe in religion, but I do believe in spirituality. And so I have been to church. I won't say that. And I won't say that it has not helped to influence my life. But I use the 12-step program. And so I have found that it has been more beneficial for me to go to that. Every now and then, I might show up at church, you know, to see what's going on at church, to hear the word. That's what I would go for. And I will say they are interchangeable, because if we're living by spiritual principles, and what comes out of the Bible has spiritual principles also, then, you know, they can intertwine. I don't say I don't read it, because I do have a recovery Bible, you know, and so I have found that that does help me also, you know, but I utilize the 12-step program. It hasn't failed me yet. You know, I know that the program does work. I'm not saying that, you know, that church doesn't work. I feel like whatever works for that particular person, you know, is what they need to do. You know, a lot of people do both, you know, and I did for a while, but now I'm strictly 12-step. I just deal with the spiritual principles in my life, and I found that I've gotten better, you know, especially dealing in the 11th step, where I'm allowing God to help me, you know, guide me instead of me doing it on my own, you know. So that's where I'm at with that.
Wonderful. There is a correlation there. You've had a little bit of church, but a whole lot of 12-step in your recovery process.
Well, yeah, I had my mother, you know, my grandmother, my aunt, you know, they went to church. They took me to church when I was little, so I was exposed to it, you know, and that's how I got a belief system in God, you know. But my beliefs, I would say that my belief system changed, and not so much. And I went to a non-denominational church when I was younger. And so I never knew about what the different religions were until I went to some other places, as I've been seeking the God of my understanding out. You know, so I went to some other, you know, religious places, you know, where they practice different things. And I learned some things that I could implement in my life to help me in my 12-step program. But yeah, I utilize the program 99.9%.
Right. Now, Leonidas, you mentioned in your introduction how you have some affiliation with ministries. So how has church and or 12-step influenced your life?
Well, first of all, it wasn't until I got the 12-step that I assumed a greater power and a greater sense of seeking and understanding how this whole system of spirituality works. God is a person. Well, God is not a person. God is a spirit that works through every entity and people, places, and things. And I grew up in the church. And I go to church regularly because I believe that God is omnipresent. And his word is in the Bible. And the Bible, more or less, controversially put together, and the 12 steps intertwined. You can find everything that's in the 12 steps in the Bible. I have searched both ways. It's just written different. That's all it is. It's written differently. If you break it down from step 1 to step 12, it's just written differently. And for us, we needed something different. It says it in our literature. We continually need something different. And so in order to incorporate all these things and have a spiritual connection, right, we needed both things. I believe for me, I needed both. I can't speak for nobody else. I need both things. I need to worship God in church. I need to bring the steps home. I need to practice this in all my affairs. I need to do everything I can to keep this spiritual power upon me so that I can live and walk in a certain way differently than what I used to, because I'm still continuing fighting with all these different growth processes that I'm going through as man and responsibility, and they bring on different spirits, and they bring on different attitudes, and they bring on different change, bring on different disciplines. And so you have to have something greater than you, a power that you can understand to help you go through all of these disciplines through our growth and process and what God wants us to do with this recovery. I don't believe that we should just be laying down. It's like Clay. He got a list of things that he's doing, right? And maybe everybody else got a list of things. These are the directional things that God has directed us to do, as you as well as a minister, you know, and we need empowerment. And so we have to search out God on all levels to keep us empowered so we won't make nobody else go astray. We want everybody to be clean if we could. We want everybody to live the way we live. We want everybody to feel the way we feel. But it takes time. And it takes us seeking. I sponsor guys and do all the stuff that recovery says do. I go to church. Well, now we're not going to church because of COVID, but I still watch it on TV. I watch powerful speakers. It's just my recovery has broadened besides just sitting in a meeting. It don't get it for me no more. Just sitting there listening to somebody, it just doesn't get it anymore. It just, you know, I'm around addicts and try to help people every day, right? And once COVID hit, I think it changed my processing.
Yeah.
It changed my needs. And gave me another outlook on reading. That's why I say I do a lot of writing. I do a lot of reading. I done did more research, more recovery and research. It's not really about talking, it's about walking. And how I live and how other guys I can help. Because everywhere we go, we got to help somebody. And that's what it really says in the 12 steps. Carry this in all our faith. If they see the change in you and I say I'm an addict, right? That means, hey, that guy did it. I can do it.
Right.
So that's really my basis. It's not like you beat somebody else down because they in church. Hey, that's what you want to do, like the lady said. If that's what get them clean and that's what keep them and guide them and help them, then hey, I'm all for it. You come over here, you know. My problem now with Narcotics Anonymous and the process and all this kind of stuff, is people ain't doing the work. They're not doing it. They just not doing it. You know, I got, you know, I don't want to go into what I got, but out of all the guys I sponsor, half of them don't want to do the work. Nobody wants to self-work.
Yeah.
And that's the key to this thing. That's what a blessing is.
All right, let's get another perspective. Thank you so much, Leonidas. I think that so far we have shown that this is not about religion, It's about spirituality. I know that
Right.
Lisa mentioned that. Leonidas mentioned that. Angela, let's get your perspective. I don't. I know it was God that had me to call you. I don't know about your religious affiliation, but I do know that you've been around long enough to know something about spirituality.
Yeah, thank you, Basha, for calling me. Whenever you call for service, I'm there. Church and spirituality and the 12 steps all have intertwined in my life. When I first got to Narcotics Anonymous, I had not been going to church. Drugs was my church. The drug dealer, wherever the drug dealer was, that's where church was. Wherever the pipe was, that's where church was. I got here and I heard y'all talking about. I got to Narcotics Anonymous 12-step program and heard you all talking about higher power, and I knew that I needed a new way of living. I had dragged myself down to the curb. I was just my spirit was so low. I couldn't remember ever feeling normal, without a drink or a drug. And I heard them talking about a God of their understanding. And it took me a while to understand what they were really talking about. But my early years, I went to church. And by the grace of God, I found a church where a lot of the recovering addicts that I saw in the meetings attended. And then the pastor related scripture to our 12 steps. I heard him always, sneaking in words that we used in the rooms, and I mean, when I say rooms, I mean in the meetings. He was sneaking, like the phrases that we use, and that made me stay. It gave me hope. His wow, whatever he was talking about that Sunday, I felt like he was talking to me. After a while, after some years, like I'm talking about the stages. Everything happens in stages, throughout your life. So I had, the church. Then I started feeling like I didn't want to be in church and crying all the time. I felt like I was being revved up every Sunday, to feel bad about myself, and as well as good. And I stopped going to church as much. I started going to meetings more. And let me tell you, when we're working steps with a sponsor, every step that I have ever worked with my sponsors, we prayed first. God came in, God first. In our meetings, God is first. Even in our business meeting, God is first, because we need some kind of spirituality in the room, to help us to stay on that positive side as opposed to the negative side that we can all, go to, as far as what we might be talking about, how we might feel about another person. We need God and God's spirit. And you may not call your higher power God. I choose to call my higher power God. And I know that it's a spirit. It's not a person. I haven't seen God. I have a spirit within me, that positive spirit, the highest positive spirit, that keeps me, sane. I wanted to be sane because I was feeling insane. There was another stage in my recovery where I was feeling really insane. I didn't want to live. I didn't want to do a whole lot of things. I felt really bad about myself. And I found another church. And this church did more teaching to me rather than revving up the crowd. And I fell in love with this church. They taught me. I went to another level where I was being taught, about faith, about hope. I heard about it, we talk about it in the 12 steps. There's our spiritual, we have spiritual principles. Some of them include faith, hope, honesty, open-mindedness. You know, all you have to have all of that to go into the church. You know, it
Are
all.
you still going to that church now, Angie?
I haven't been, but I get emails. I contribute to whatever they are sponsoring. I love the pastor and his wife, you know, and I don't love him like people say, oh, I love my pastor. He's the bomb, you know, like
Right.
whatever he say goes. I love the message that he brings, and him and his wife are so friendly. They don't drive up in the big cars, you know. They're just regular people trying to live a regular life, trying to help people.
What church is that, may I ask?
It's called Faith Christian Fellowship. It's in
Okay.
Randallstown on Winans Road, you know.
Faith Christian Fellowship. Okay.
Yeah.
Who's the pastor? Who's the pastor there?
Pastor Doolin.
Dooley?
Yeah. Doolin.
Okay. Doolin. All right.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But
Thank you so much.
I don't, and my home group meeting, NA home group meeting is at 10:30. They start at 10 o'clock. And I get so much out of my meeting. And like she was saying, like Leonardo was saying, we help people, you know, and the Bible says, that we are here to help somebody else. We love to give love, you know, and that's what I do, you know. It guides me every look. The church and the fellowship has guided me in my life, and it continues to. You know, I'm sitting around here, a single mom and got 5 kids in here. You know, so I have to believe in a higher power. You know, I don't want to use, because some days I'm like, I'm glad I'm not using, because I'm right out here too drunk, man, leave me here. You know. So.
Yeah, but you need to let them know that they're not your children. That they're not your children, but you are doing foster care. Is that right?
Well, 3 I adopted. They
all right.
Since they were born.
All right.
And then I still do foster care for the medically complex that have parents that can't find their way. They can't find their way. They can't get off of drugs. They having a hard time, you know. So I can't talk to the parents, but I can help them with their babies until they get it together.
Wonderful,
you know?
wonderful.
Good,
Okay,
good.
David, you want to respond to that question? How does church and 12-step relate in your life? And then I'm going to have my co-host Clay to come in and share as he would like to. Come on, David.
Yeah. As I was sitting back listening about Leonardus and Andrew, and I can't see your name in my computer.
Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa. And I was just reflecting on because Vashi, I am engaged in 12-step recovery and been doing it for the last 36 years. So and going into my 37th year. And what I found is that when I first came in the recovery process, I was working through, I just thought drugs was my problem, addiction. But as I've done the work and practiced the principles, I found that I had other issues, because I was emotionally unstable, So, but I was also going to Hopkins to finish my master's program in clinical counseling, and I found myself, and then I became critically ill, and when I became critically ill, and even though as I was working through the steps of the program and recovery, about 15 years in my recovery, I got, I started, I had liver disease. So they put me on the transplant list at Hopkins. And through all of that, so then I started going back, seeking out, other spiritual avenues of recovery. I looked at Zen Buddhism. I looked at, I'm a practitioner of transformative meditation. So I've looked at all of these things, So my spiritual background is pretty eclectic when it comes to spirituality. And when I was sick, I found out, not only was I getting recovery and positive reflection from the people in the fellowship, in Narcotics Anonymous and AA, and the other 12-step programs I was attending to, like adult children alcoholics, all these different things I was exploring and indulging into. And I found myself really becoming spiritually connected with people. And the power of the second step, that power is greater than me. It's always been the collective consciousness of all the people in the fellowships that I attend. And then I went to church, and people were praying over me, and the bishop told me one day because I wouldn't fall out and do all the other stuff because I have my sister. In fact, I have a sister who's a bishop, and three other sisters who were in the ministry, and and one lady came and she prayed over me. She said, David, you see, your miracle is not going to come through a lot of the rituals that we practice here. You see, your miracles will come through the medical establishment. I had the transplant, and this is clear as day. I remember it. I was in Miami, and right after surgery, I was near death. I almost, I only had maybe a month to live. And after that 17 hours worth of surgery, when my wife took me out of the hospital, and my sister was praying over me, and as I was released that day, we went to the drugstore, and I had the top of my car, because I had the top of my SUV open, because I drove down there. I got my surgery in Miami, Florida. And I looked up at the sky, and all of a sudden this feeling just came over me, and that feeling stayed with me ever since. I have, and from encountering that, some people have described it as drug, some, they say after the surgery, I know. It's just like we read the history, and the history like John Becker. He had a spiritual experience which brought this of Christ's experience on the cross. And then through that revelation, he was working through a resentment that he had towards the church and church people, man. And it actually took me from a 15-year experience of being resistant even going to the church to go back to the church and use that same program, that book that you had, the Serenity Program, and work with people in the church and find out that they got the same issues that everybody else has.
Yeah.
The same hang-ups, the same addictions to. I'm not just talking about drugs and alcohol, but I'm talking about the spiritual maladies that all human beings suffer from.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that has done to me, man, it has opened me. It actually opened me up to be more exposed to helping people in church. Now, I haven't been to church in 18 since this pandemic because I'm highly compromised individual because I have a transplant. Okay. But the beauty of it is that through working this spiritual program, it has opened me up to all the members in the church and my recovery community.
Okay, let me just say this before I call on Clay. I was active pastor for 38 years. Been in the church all my life, and as of now, I've been in the ministry for 44 years. Been in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous and AA for 33 years. And from what I've seen, people in the 12-step programs of Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous are much more spiritual than individuals who are in the church and are able to express themselves, good and bad. Whereas people in the church leave theirs hidden.
Mm-hmm.
In 12-step meetings, we will hear people talk about giving honor and praise to God and thanking God for the gratitude and all. But people in the church will talk about God's power in a superficial way. Oh, he's been so good to me. He's delivered. He brought me from a mighty long way. But they never talk about the way that God has brought them from. I'm not taking anything away from the church, and I'm not giving anything to it right now because I'm in both of them. But I honestly and truly have seen it, and I believe that all of us who are on here have been around the 12-step program long enough to have witnessed the transparency of recovering people, and I just believe that if we could get the same spirituality in the church, this whole, like Leonidas was saying, we like to get everybody clean and sober, but I think that the spirituality that we have in the rooms, I think would overshadow that spirituality that's in the church. Clay, come on. I know you have something to give.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate all the comments around through the forum, and I just want to say that my target population are probably sitting on the side and listening to us, and I want to let you know that it's not that serious. Okay, it's not that serious. As far as the Fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous, for me, I found in my experience, I'm going to let you know the end result. Having had a spiritual awakening. Boom, that's it. That's the whole journey, to have a spiritual awakening. I learned quickly going to church with my grandmother. If I wanted another mint, all I had to do was wiggle in my chair, and she'd give me a mint to keep me still. So I learned from a very early age how to manipulate to get what I wanted. I was introduced to church first. I was introduced to several religions in Massachusetts, Christianity in New York, the Five Percenters in Maryland, the Nation of Islam, and studying under the House of Yahweh down here in Florida, just several, and then world religion in college. It's not that complicated. Basha, you was giving us a history of where it comes from, going back to the Oxford group. But the Oxford group got their concepts from the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible. And so I often say, how can the branch tell the root, I don't need you for nourishment? And disconnect myself from that teaching. I struggle and I shortchange myself. I've heard comments that, what's in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous is been shared in church, okay? And just as an example, because I hate when people, I don't hate, but it makes me wonder when someone says there's a disparity there or there's not a disparity there and don't give me any examples. I'll give you an example. In the Fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous, they say you cannot graft a new idea onto a closed mind. 2,000 years earlier, Jesus said you couldn't pour new wine into old wineskins. It's the same concept, right? So let's say in the Fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous, they say it's money, property, and prestige, right? And in the church, they talk about the lust of the eye, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. In church, they say don't put nothing before God. In 12-step fellowship, they say don't put nothing before the program. So it's a play with words, and I heard that being said. Before I'm a shortchanged church, I am going to say that my God is not powerless, he's powerful. And he could have recovered me or put me in a state of recovery anywhere.
Yeah.
It was just contingent on my connection with him. Now, had I would have gave the same dedication to church that I did to 12 steps, That means doing 90 meetings in 90 days, getting a sponsor, working the steps. Instead of working the 12 steps, work the 10 steps, because those were the original steps. See, I couldn't eat meat, so you had to spoon feed me the milk until I matured spiritually. And then I could start seeing some different things. But for me, the church is a building, it's a structure, and we have many of them. Religion, you know, RE is to repeat, restart, redo, means to go back. Religion, or religio in Latin, is to bind. Thus, religion is man's attempt to bind his way back to his creator through rites, rituals, and practices. We do some of those rites, rituals, and practices in the 12-step fellowship. There's really no difference. But I want to speak to the people that, because our literature talks about the addict and the potential addict. And I want to speak to them. And I want to let them know that there is relief from addiction. There is relief from mental health disorders. You know, and what I have to do is to get past my disparity of where I am and where I want to be in that distance. I need to shorten that distance and bring myself closer to myself. Spirituality helps me do that. It introduces me to me, because I was once told, you've been walking around the world for 38 years, Clay, and you don't even know who you're walking with. And the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous help introduce me to me and to my higher power. Thank you.
Okay. Appreciate. Go ahead. Yes.
Basha, you know, and also the 12 steps have helped people that never believed in a God or believed in a church and a God. You know, it has changed a lot of minds, and not so much that they went into the church, but they got that spirituality that they needed. They believed in a God, a spirit higher than themselves, you know, and they talk about it. We hear people talking about it all the time. You know, they came and they didn't believe in a God. They were mad with God. They blamed everything on God.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Then they sat and they listened and they believed and they gave themselves a chance. They opened up their mind, you know, and they found their way to some spirituality.
You just told my story, Angela. I mean, when I first came to the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, when I got out of treatment, somebody said, I need to go to a meeting. I went to a meeting, they were talking about God, and I was mad. I was angry. You know, even though I was a pastor, I was angry because I thought that God had turned his back on me. I really did. And my sponsor told me to sit still and listen. Just sit still and listen. And as a direct result of me sitting still and listening, then what happened was, after being in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous for a while, what the 12-step program did for me, it showed me that I was preaching about a God that I did not understand. All those years, I was preaching about a God that I had heard about.
Okay.
And I was telling the story that I had heard about, like I knew, like I really knew him, but I didn't really know him.
Yes.
See, I didn't really know him. You see, it's like you know, before I married my wife, I knew her, but not like I know her now after 40 years. Are you with me?
Yeah.
That's the hand. You
Yes,
know,
indeed.
that's
Yes,
the wife's
indeed.
hand. And so now when I'm in the ministry and when I preach and when I teach, I'm not teaching from the head. I'm teaching from the head and the heart. And I think that's where that makes all the difference, because we can be spiritual, but we have to practice it religiously. But you can be religious and not spiritual.
We had so much to be grateful for too.
Clay had to go talk to a client, Leonidas.
I'm gonna say this one thing. It's just that the difference with this is the major difference that I see than the church, than the 12 step. when you're an addict, you're accepted in the 12-step program. But if you go to the church and try to get the same kind of help,
That's right.
Not
Yo.
gonna happen.
you get shunned. You get shunned. You can't raise your hand in no church and say, look, I'm an addict. I need help.
No.
It don't work. You
Woo,
know,
man. Yes, sir.
it don't work that good. You understand? It might work in some churches. I ain't gonna say all,
No,
but if you raise your hand in a meeting and say, hey, I need help, we all gonna help.
that's
Help
right.
is available.
Right? It's a judge thing. It's a judgmental thing when it comes to the drug. And so that's why we had anonymity and everybody not ready for the coming out.
Yes, you're
Everybody
absolutely
not
right.
ready for coming out. No matter how much
Absolutely
time you got. You know, so I got to be careful sometime when I go to church. I can't tell everybody I'm an addict in church.
No.
I can't tell them that. I can't tell everybody that my story.
Yeah,
You understand?
yeah. And what you're saying, Leonidas, you know, by me, this is a burden on me. I travel the country teaching about addiction and doing book signings with my book. And so when I present myself as a recovering individual and presenting to people that if God can do it for me, he can do it for you. The reason why God has me reaching so many people is because I'm transparent.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes something to be transparent. Because when you're transparent, the devil will shoot. And Negroes, well, anybody will start throwing darts at you.
Right.
Yes.
And I learned early on that the people who treated me the dirtiest in the church that I pastored were people who were using drugs and alcohol incognito and did not want anybody to know about it. And I'm telling you, I can tell you a story about that. Yes, David.
But you know, you're a pastor, and I have many friends who pastor church, and I have a real good friend of mine. I'm not going to break his damn neck, but he died from this disease. He died from alcoholism. In fact, I have two friends who died from alcoholism.
He was a pastor?
And preaching in the church. He actually asked me to come and help his flock, you know. But that shows you the hypocrisy in sometimes in the movement or the dichotomy of how people will present one thing and not live a certain life. In 12-step program, one thing I've learned how to do is I learned how the concept of agape love, how to love myself. And now I have the ability to go, when I do teach that the Serenity program in my program, those people in the church, they open up.
Yeah.
But I do it in a private setting. Because, you know, if you're in the sanctuary and pastor preaching, you're not going to get that. Only thing you're going to get a lot of people that's going to praise the Lord and praise God. And then 10 minutes later, when they walk out of church, somebody say something, they can cuss them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
You're right. You're right.
So
you know,
what I find internally for myself, that if I practice these principles, these 12 principles in all my fasts, I have the ability to go out and show that internal love. Because I learned I love myself a lot more than I used to.
okay.
Even though I still, but see, I understand this too, that my process is an ongoing process. I'm gonna have to deal with my issues of addiction until I cease to exist.
Okay. Let me do this.
But I must love other people in the process.
Yes. We have 6 minutes before we can close. And what I want to do is I want to give each individual at least a minute to give some hope to somebody who's listening. From your standpoint of view, I want to give each of you 60 seconds to give some hope to somebody who's listening. I want to start with Leonidas. Come on.
Man, this is the hope here. You can be free from any drug, no matter what it may be. Live extraordinary life if you practice the spiritual principles of Narcotics Anonymous and taking all of what God has for you. There's no stopping you. There's no way that you can't live a full life. You can't be happy. You can find the right house. You can find the right wife. You can get all the things. I've learned, and this is my main reason. I tell everybody, if you want something, all you have to do is ask God. You have not because you ask not.
Yes. All right. Thank you. All right. Angie, give some hope to somebody. You got 60 seconds.
Don't believe that saying that once an addict, always an addict. It's not true. I'm here to tell you, at 31 years clean, give yourself a chance and pray. Keep praying.
Come on, you got 30 more seconds, Angie.
That's all she got.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, give yourself a chance. Find someone to talk to in recovery. Get a number to call for a detox or a treatment center. Take that one step, find your way, because out here, it's getting worse out here in the streets. It's not getting any better. And if you have kids, that means that you're helping another generation fall by the wayside, possibly,
Okay. All right. Thank you. David?
The hope that I want to project to anyone who's in this arena right now is to give yourself a break. Get affiliated with a 12-step program or 12-step ministry and free yourself from addiction and pain. I'm free today.
Yeah.
I am free today. I have struggles, have issues, but I don't and I will not use today. Just for today. God has given me this wonderful gift, 12-step programs, NA, AA, Serenity, and any other addiction that I have. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you. We say the best for last, since you flew in from the farthest away. Come on, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Where I came from is not who I look like today. And I always say, if I can do it, you can do it. It doesn't matter who it is, but you got to want this. And so sometimes, it'll seem like that what we see here, it looks like all glitz and glamour, but I go through some things too. So you just have to know that. And I only say that because I do have a God of my own understanding today. And so because of the program God led me to the program, and then the program gave me the God of my own understanding. And so if I can do it, because I was the spoiled little girl, who had everything, who did everything, and found herself in the crack house, and now I'm in the Hope House, and whatever Hope House you choose to get it in, whether it's church, whether it's in a 12-step program, as long as that power is greater, and loving and caring, and bigger than you and greater than you. Because I know that it comes from up here. And most times my thinking lead me to somewhere I don't want to go. But I know that the 12-step program that I'm in, it works, and it works whether we intertwine it with church or not. As long as you believe in something other than yourself, you can do this.
Thank you so much, Angela, Lisa, Leonidas, David. And I want to thank all of those persons who are listening. What is this person saying? It's not true. I have with that. Okay, somebody's just for the day I'm not using. Okay, Sheila, Tommy, Luke, Vanessa, all of you all. Thank you for listening. And thank you all for being here this evening. If you all can stay on for a little bit, right after we close. But in my closing words, if you need to help, you need to get some help, you can give me a call at 443-250-9635. That's 443-250-9635. If you want to give a donation toward our ministry, toward our outreach, we get people in the treatment. We help people. We do it all. So you see that the ways in which you can donate to our outreach on the screen through Cash App, PayPal, Givelify, or you can write a check to Hope Alive Outreach. If you want to get some more information, you can give me a call, or you can email me at info@hopealiveoutreach.org. That's info@hopealiveoutreach.org, or call me. You can call me up until 11 o'clock at night, 443-250-9635. That's 443-250-9635. I'm Dr. Jordan. And remember, no matter what's going on with you tonight, there is hope for you. I'm the Hope Doctor. Have a great day.